So last time we were talking a bit about what our clients are telling us and what they're experiencing about this world we're living in and trying to do good business in at the moment. And I think even in the last conversation, we were pointing towards, something we might be able to put together from all of our experience that might address some of that reality that clients are in. And I've been doing some thinking about it, Courtney, and I'm expressing at the moment as the sort of 5 what ifs. So this is both, for the listener, this is both a sort of headline design and some assumptions about how you do this sort of approach to creating futures together, to creating change together. And what I'm thinking we'll do, Courtney, is I'll just go through them very high level, just ahead, and then we'll dive back in and unpack it for our listeners. Yeah. So the first what if is, what if we could find and ask ourselves the right big question? And we'll come back and talk about what we mean by that in a minute. What if number 2? What if, to try and find the very best answers to that big question, we invited the right people? And again, we'll come back to what that means. What if number 3? What if we let people be free to explore every aspect of the question, the problem beneath the problem, and to dive them into themselves into the world of possibility to try and find the best possible solutions to the big question? What if number 4? What if, before we even left this event, this workshop, we started actually doing some of the work? So we're not trying to pick something up when we get back to the real world. We've started the work and giving ourselves that commitment. So what if we start the work before we leave is the what if. And then the 5th what if we mentioned the real world there, what if we resisted the pull of that real world to tempt us away from our best commitments by offering great processes and systems and support mechanisms to keep us in that space of great collaboration and creativity in the workshop? So those are the 5 what ifs around this thing.
Yes.
So that first one, what if we found the big question? We helped our clients find the big question. What are we thinking about there?
Well, I mean, in my experience, they're not lacking the question.
No.
But they're more lacking how narrowing the question can look and how they can focus on one thing at a time and sort of not compress kind of compress the time, but just focus the time, right?
Yeah.
And just do that one thing of focus well. And do that one thing of focus by giving all of their focus to that one thing in a compact amount of time, and to be very precise in that focus. And it kind of segues to all the other things you talked about. Like, I think that's what we're missing right now is that ability to give all their attention to one thing.
That's right.
And to have a bit of guidance with that focused attention. And I think that underlies the problem of finding the one big question, because I don't think our clients are missing the ability to find it. It's just the things around them are so chaotic that when they have any moment to look at the question, then they can lose track because so many other things come in.
Yeah, that's
What about for you?
Yeah, I always think the big question, the right big question for any community or organization or team or function or whatever it is that when we put it up, everybody in the room goes, yes. That's the question we need to address. It might raise the hairs on the back of the neck when we think about trying to answer it, but it's the big question is substantial, and it's the one that we all know is out there for us. So it might be the redesign of a process that we've been doing the same way for millennia, and we can't get out of it. We need to do something different, but we never seem to get around to actually making that happen. It might be a new product line. It might be a different way of working, whatever it might be. But I think for me, the successful big question is the one where everybody goes, yes, that's the one we need to address.
And sometimes it's really simple too, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've had clients have questions as focused as, one company I worked with, a medium-sized company, was looking down the barrel of a not too long future unless they found some new revenue streams. And the big question, how are we going to find some new revenue streams that will turn the fortunes of this company around in the next 9 months? And it wasn't so if you've got ideas for 3-year projects, great, but thank you, no. We need something in the 9 months, else none of us are going to be here.
Right.
So
and one thing I'm Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say it might be as focused as that, or it might be, I mean, another one I worked with a company on was, what do we need to do? What are the conversations we need to have? What are the decisions we need to make this a truly compelling place that people want to work and bring all of their best to? So that's the sort of, we've got to save ourselves in the next 9 months is a very, very practical, solid one. But how can we create a great place to work, is more, I guess, aspirational. But they knew that if they found that, they'd be able to then do great work together because everybody wanted to be there.
Well, and I was just speaking with a client about they wanted to deal with conflict management, but when they looked at it more closely, they really needed people to look at sort of standing in each other's shoes or perspectives in order to see how the other person was looking at something because of the trickle-down effect to the rest of business, which is actually about culture.
Yes.
So it was like a big thing, but it looked like a little thing, but the sort of head of the company could see the rolling thunder, but the rest of them didn't see it coming. So if we said conflict management, they wouldn't really get it, and it was really a big culture issue. So, how to unpack it was really important.
Yes.
And so the big question was obvious to a few people, but not everybody, and so how to approach it was critical.
Exactly right, yeah. And it's probably one of those situations where the first question out of our client's mouth is probably not the big question. They're probably already trying to address that, or they've got a team working on it, or it looks like an obvious answer, like conflict management is an obvious solution to a problem. But let's take the time before we even go further in the design of this thing. Let's really find the big question.
And part of what we're doing, I think part of what we're trying to help with is, we have a good, very, we're very fortunate to be standing outside of it, and we're lucky to be able to look at it from a different point of view.
Yeah.
So we have the luxury of looking at it and saying, "Oh, you're saying this, but do you mean that?"
Yes. Yeah, exactly right.
And we do and look and see and hear about these things all day, and from other people as well. So we can pull it in from a multitude of industries and say, "Oh, there's a theme here."
Yes.
And do you know that a lot of people are saying this, and a lot of people are seeing that, and
Terrific.
so we can validate a concern they have from a big perspective.
Yes.
And then they're like, "Oh, it's not just me. Okay, yeah, we could look at that." So I think we can help them on a guidance level from that point of view.
Absolutely, we can. Yeah, it might be a great big, survey question to ask the whole organization. What do you think the big question is we need to address? See what comes up.
And do you know that it might be happening past your organization?
That's right.
Just a little knock there.
The next what if is, what if therefore, let's assume we've identified the big question. Now the question is, rather than sort of populate any workshop with the usual suspects, nothing wrong with that, but I mean the heads of departments or just a leadership team in and of itself, whatever. What if we invited the right people? What do we mean by that? People who want to answer that big question. They either have some expertise, they identify themselves as good for this workshop because they've got expertise in it, or they've got passion for it, or they're just damn curious because I've got no idea how we're going to answer that big question, but I can't wait to be in the room to find out. That's what I think are the right people for something like this.
Or they actually have a practical way to fix it. If you think about it, sometimes, senior leaders get workshop fill in the blank, and yet, if you put all those people in a room, a lot of them have to work down the chain in so many levels, they can't always fix it very quickly.
No.
And so you have this theoretical great idea, but the actual evolution of the solution doesn't necessarily happen quickly. But if you put, I think sometimes the actual problem solvers in the room, so it might be a few senior leaders and a few middle managers and a few technicians, and you actually make action teams, or you actually involve storytelling and communication and behavioral synergy, and in real time you're remixing those things.
Yes.
And you're actually doing work in the room, and you're actually changing things in real time, and you're actually doing work in the room. It's very different than that sort of theoretical workshop for senior leaders. It's just a completely different way of approaching it.
It really is. It's not instinctive, but Courtney and I are really sort of passionate about this because we've seen it happen. You're just triggering something for me. A few years I was doing something like this with a large organization, and there were, I think, 60. They invited 60 people for this big question. And at the end of day one, populated the wall with all of the outputs of the first set of exercises, all this And the next morning I got there early just to sort of tidy up the coffee cups and everything. And a guy came in from another organisation. He was in the wrong room. He'd wandered into the wrong room. And he just as
sometimes fortuitous.
Just as he was apologising, that's right, spy. Just as he was apologising and leaving, he said, "My God, you were all working hard yesterday." And that would have not have been his witness if he'd have been in the room. It did not feel like hard work. And I think that's the possibility of what if number 2 and what if number 3. What if the right people who are there because they said yes, and they're unleashed on all sorts of possibilities and solutions, it doesn't feel like hard work. It doesn't feel like slogging through the agenda. It's just flow. Yeah. It is exactly right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very like it's very Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, right? It's that creative flow. I love saying his name. It's very creative flow. It's just fun. It's enjoyable, and it's really that state you want to get to, right? And I it's always that thing where you see these amazing leaders go to the room, and then they come back and they're like, oh, "What do we do with all this?"
Yes.
But if you can take that, "What do we do with all this?" and do it in the room, and they leave not only with like, "Oh, evidence we did something" in their hands, but actually they did something, and they started the work, and they literally made meetings or made progress, and literally had the action takers in the room doing the progress. So I mean, like the middle managers and the technicians. I mean, how good does that feel? And they go back and not like the senior managers went back like pumped and gave it to their team, but literally 3 or 4 teams went back and had things to give to teams. Can you imagine the compounding effect?
Oh, exactly right, Courtney. I mean, the way I look at that, the way I talk about that is we're reducing the number of people outside of the room that we've got to persuade that this was a good idea. Yeah, we've got to...
Right.
Because we were there. We don't need persuading, you know. Yes, there are still going to be people outside. But if you've got, as I mentioned that story before, 60 people who are completely galvanized, you know, they were the right people. They wanted to be there. And let me just make a pause to the clients who are listening, the prospects who are listening to this. When was the last time you were in any sort of meeting where you knew everybody 100% wanted to be there? As opposed to a mix of want to and have to,
right?
You know, and it's amazing.
And bottom line, we don't want to persuade you. You know, like I mean, it's not our job or our reason to be there to want to convince you it's a good idea. We're really there to help, and we're really there to guide and bring you along. We're not there to spend the money or you know, fill in a gap or hopefully give you like a couple of new concepts. I think that's training. I don't think that's what we do. I think that's what some people do, and it has value. It's just not what we're talking about.
No, exactly right. And that brings us to the 5th what if, which is what if we could support you after a workshop like this? Because this is one of the oldest stories, I believe, in organizational life, that no matter how good the workshop was, no matter how good the course was, no matter how good the conference was, it didn't maintain when we got back to the real world.
Common.
And that is so common, and it's something that you and I think about a lot because it needn't be the inevitability. And so we've got all of this energy, we've got all of this commitment, we've got all of this persuasive storytelling about to unleash on the wider system. How can Courtney and I support and make sure that the real world supports you as opposed to distracts you and keeps you offline and gets you busy again, you know, and then it all goes away. That's what happens. But we will be there to support you to keep this thing alive.
Right. I mean, I don't know about you, but that's the most heartbreaking thing for me is when we're in the room and you see those boards, you know, and you see that guy walk by and it's like, this isn't my room, but I wish I was in this room. And you see all these things happen and you see these people's faces light up and you see them so excited to be there, and the right people are in the room, and then they go back and work takes over and they lose that momentum. It's so sad on a variety of levels, and I think for them as well, you know, they leave and they really lose that steam and they really lose that wind in their sails, and they really feel depleted because they're like, we spent all this time and we spent all this energy and we were so high on this and so ready for this, and I think they are just so saddened by it, and so if that doesn't have to be the case, first of all, because you've done something in the room that made a big difference and made a real difference, and second, because you were able to really move things along in a manner that, you know, got them to the next level. So, but then you had us to help and to continue the help.
And I think that's a really powerful point, Courtney, because I think if, our clients are the organizations who are facing this don't solve this issue of they do a great workshop and then it fades away. If they don't solve that, then they're always going to get stuck. And what will happen is that they'll let a year go by and they'll get a new set of consultants in, a new process, a new strategy design. And we all know there's always one of those around the corner saying, this is the one. But actually, it's always what happens after the workshop. So, I think our desire to do an amazing event for people where all of this great stuff happens, I think that the critical piece actually is the way that we support them going forward to maintain their best intentions and their best dreams of a great future.
I think you're totally right, because ultimately it's not the consultant, it's what's within them.
Yes.
And extracting the right things and them doing the right thing with the right thing, right? So
yes.
I'm sure you've gotten this question 1,000 times. It's like, why are you different from the last person we worked with?
Mm-hmm.
And it's really not us being different. It's the process being different, and it's what comes out of them being different, and then what they do with turning the input to output being different.
Yes. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. So maybe let's just try and sum up this conversation. What were those 5 what ifs? The 5 what ifs. The first one is, what if we could find the big question? The one that everybody goes, yes, we really need to answer that question. And maybe the gentle challenge we can offer to our listeners is, what would that be for you? Do you know what that question is? Where could you find it? What if number 2? What if we invite the right people? Are you already beginning to think about, if you didn't invite just the usual suspects, who else would you like to be in a room solving something like that? What if number 3 and number 4 are about the actual process, the sort of amazing energy of divergent opinions and perspectives and opinions and solutions, and then turning the corner into action and taking that action before we leave, what going back to the big question, what do you have in your organization you'd like to bring that sort of energy to? And then the final one, what if we could support you going forward beyond the workshop? What would that feel like? What would that look like in your culture, in your organization?
And I think the 2 unique things that we've been speaking to each other about and talking to our clients about, and I think reaching out to people together with, is, the idea of just walking people through answering these questions without ever, engaging in the work yet. Just, if one of the people listening to this is out there and they can't identify these things for themselves, like, we'll get on the phone with you.
Oh, absolutely.
And we'll just talk you through this. Like, why not? I mean, we find it fascinating, so we'll do that.
We certainly do.
And we love talking, so that, yes, done and done. And then I think and we like each other's company, so it works.
Yes.
And then I think the other interesting thing that I think is really different about this is the process we've put together here is scalable. So you can put 5 people in the room, you can put 500 people in the room, and our process really doesn't change, because it's uniquely can put the right people in the room. And the only thing that changes on our side is how many people can your organization pay to fly to place X and house for a couple of nights.
Yes.
And our guidance is an add-on. Really, that's not meant to be part of what we're trying to package here. Mm-hmm. The guidance is really an after effect. The time together is the piece that's really critical, and the guidance is really because we know it's essential. So, but really, the first step is, if you don't know the answers to these things, you don't have to know that yourself before we talk to you. No. Let us help you with that, because it's hard to extract. And I say this to people every day. They're like, how do you know that? It's like, because this is all I think about.
That's right.
And all I do is talk to clients and people like David. So why wouldn't I know that?
Well, as I said in the last conversation we got, this is our day job.
Yeah, between us, we have some of these pieces of information. Yeah.
Good. Well, I think that was good. Let's wrap it up there, Courtney. And as always, the clients, you know where to find us. Our information is packaged along with this recording. We'd love to talk with you more.
Absolutely.